Hi everyone, I'm Layla. Welcome to Sugar Roots Farm. I'm going to be telling you a little bit today about our approach to pest management in our gardens. And we try and practice organic and agroecological pest management practices. Today I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on bugs rather than plant diseases because it's kind of more complicated to diagnose, although they are related, as we'll see. So the basic principle with organic agriculture and agroecological practices is rather than attacking pests, you want to cultivate healthy plants that are able to defend themselves. And the very first thing for healthy plants is healthy soil. So at Sugar Roots we built these beds using a mix of our own compost, which thankfully we have all these beautiful animals that provide manure for us, so we make compost out of that as well as food scraps. We also use some of Schmelly's compost, which is amazing. And then we built these mounded beds, which I think Brooke made a video on already, so you can look at that. And we have this really beautiful, rich soil that provides the plants a lot of nutrients so they can stay strong and healthy. And that's the first step. After that, another really important thing is to practice crop rotation. So not always growing the same family of plants in the same spot in your garden, because a lot of pests overwinter in the soil, or they'll just stick around because they know their food source is going to be there. So to kind of confuse them, you want to move your plant families around, practice good rotation. And fallowing is another important part of that. You want to let the soil rest periodically, and not have anything growing in it, and put more compost on it just to regenerate its fertility. Another important piece that I've learned the hard way is kind of not putting all of your eggs in one basket, not growing only tomatoes or only eggplants or only squash, because then you might get a huge pest outbreak and your whole garden is wiped out. So growing a little bit of everything, and this is kind of the lesson from industrial monoculture, then you don't have these huge buildups of pests that get resistant to whatever you're trying to spray on them. You have a diversity in your garden and then diversity in your kitchen, which is great. Another thing that's really important is choosing resistant and locally adapted plant varieties. And for us down here, I always recommend Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. And when you're shopping for seeds in their catalog, and in all seed catalogs, they'll have little abbreviations that say this plant is downy mildew resistant, this plant is fusarium resistant. And if you know the diseases that are prevalent in your area, you can choose varieties that are hardy to them. And then the kind of next level of that, which is something that I hope to achieve in my gardening future, is selecting your own varieties in your own garden, saving seed from plants that you observe have good resistance and that do well in your garden and in your microclimate. And that's really the dream for me. Let's see. Something else that's really important is trying to attract natural predators, so keeping around good host plants. Flowers are great for attracting wasps and other insect predators are mantids, assassin bugs, beetles. I don't know, Brooke, what are other good ones?
Those are great.
Yeah. So yeah, keeping those ones, spiders also. They'll eat the pests in your garden, and even birds and lizards and snakes and stuff like that. Just having, and lucky for us, Sugar Roots, we're basically farming in the forest, in the swamp, so we have a lot of those natural predators around. It makes it a really special place, and sometimes difficult to grow food. So yeah, those are kind of the background things that you want to do to have a plant positive rather than pest negative approach. And another thing is letting go of perfection, letting your plants have a couple holes in them, knowing that not everything will work every single year. You can see our chart is hanging in there. Oh, and one more thing. This is moving on to more practical, tangible techniques. Another good like first layer of defense before spraying anything is a physical barrier. So we use this insect netting. It's nice because it like doesn't trap any heat, and this is good for like really hot climates like ours. And you can get this in like different sizes and shapes. The website gardensalive.com has like small quantities if you're a home gardener. And then what we did is we made these wire hoops from 9-gauge wire. We just like bent it into these little half circles, and you just stick it in the ground and you throw the netting over that, and you want to make sure it's tacked down really tight around the edges so nothing can like fly underneath.
Yep, and you can use the logs that you're using for your bed or anything kind of heavy to hold it down.
Yeah. And then, okay, so actual sprays that we use. And remember, this is like last resort, everything's getting destroyed. You kind of want to use it as your secret weapon, because the more you use it, you're actually selecting for insects that are resistant to it. You're selecting for the ones that aren't getting killed by it, and they'll reproduce more, and then there'll be more of those next year. So, with that being said, we use BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, is a bacteria that's really good for controlling caterpillars and like soft-bodied insects. An insect larvae, there are different strains of BT that are like targeted for different kinds of caterpillars, so make sure that you identify which little wormy you have and then find out which strain of BT you need to use. Garlic barrier is good for like all kinds of insects. I've used it for aphids to great effect. You can also make your own garlic spray by just like crushing up garlic and also like a little bit of just like red chili flakes or like hot peppers and steeping it in water for a while, and then that's a good kind of like all-purpose pest spray. This is neem oil, which is like this secret magic ingredient that just kind of works for a lot of things, but because it's a little bit more broad spectrum, you really want to reserve it for like when it's really needed. But I have an affinity for the neem plant. I think it's like a very special plant, and I bought a tree and we're growing it here, so maybe we'll make our own neem oil someday. Yeah, and besides that, you just need like a spray bottle, and make sure you pay attention to like the ratios for mixing, and be very precise about that. Be good about identifying your pests so you know what you're spraying for. And also just like spend time with your plants. Make sure that you know what it looks like when they look healthy or when they look sad. And
one other option is also castor oil, and you can get like Dr. Bronner's castor oil and look up online what the ratios would be, but that has worked really well for aphids on kale plants or lettuces. And obviously it's non-toxic, so you spray and then you'd rinse it off before harvesting.
Yeah, and if you all have any questions or specific like pest troubles that you have, this was just like a little intro. Send us a message. And also, if you have any ideas, like things that you're really wondering about in your garden, let us know, because we would love to make more videos.